Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of June 13th, 2022. Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell. Here. Mr. Cincy.
Here.
Mr. Council Magno.
Here.
Mr. Espinar.
Here.
Ms. Flynn.
Here.
Mr. Jensick.
Here.
Mr. Mowry.
Here.
Mr. Oates.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Present. All members are present. At this time, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, at this time, I would like to turn, we have no chair announcements this evening. I would like to turn to the reports of the officials and the library director's report.
Good evening, my name is Christine. I'm the director of your public library, where we provide opportunities to explore, learn, create, and connect. Summer reading is in full swing for both youth and adults, so if you haven't signed up, you still have a chance to do so. It'll run through the end of July. There's two library services I wanted to tell you about this evening. The first is the RAD Pass. The RAD Pass provides Allegheny County residents ages 18 and older with access to free or discounted passes to cultural attractions in our region with a library card from any Allegheny County library. So you can access the website at radpass.org. That's RADPASS.org. So you'll log in with your library card number and your PIN. You can browse for passes by date or by venue and then make a reservation. You can print or download your passes to your mobile device and bring it with you to the venue. Passes are not transferable, so the card holder who made the reservation must be present to be admitted. If you need a library card, you can register online at the Rad Pass website or stop in at the library. So all four of the Carnegie museums are part of this, and some of the Cultural Trust venues. You're not going to get tickets to Kinky Boots, but you might get tickets to the Drum and Fife Corps. And then experience kits. Thanks to our partnership with the Heinz Center Affiliates Program and other Allegheny County libraries, we're offering free admission for up to 4 people to a number of museums and historical sites around the Pittsburgh area. So our kits this year include, for 2022, the Heinz History Center, Fort Pitt Museum, Meadowcroft Village, Duncan and Miller Glass Museum, Historic Fort Steuben, Merrick Art Gallery, Old Economy Village, Somerset Historical Center, and the West Overton Village and Museum. And then each kit also comes with access to educational information, itinerary ideas, and other fun content through a virtual experience card. So it's this size. It's the size of a piece of paper. It's laminated. It has a barcode on it. You take it to the site. They'll scan it. They give it back to you, and then you return it to the library. They do go out for 7 days. They cannot be reserved, so it's first come, first served, but you can call the library ahead of time for availability, and then come visit us to find your next adventure. And then finally, the Friends of the Library is rejuvenating, and so they're having a meet and greet in the library courtyard on Thursday, June 16th at 6 o'clock, and then again on Wednesday, June 22nd from 10:30. So the Friends are a volunteer organization that advocates and promotes the library as a vital community asset. They host events, raise funds, and advocate for the library at the local and state level, with the goal of supporting the library services outside of what we're able to do with our regular operating budget. Benefits of being a friend include early notification and access to events, special friends-only activities, and camaraderie as well. If you can't make the June dates, I know they're planning on hosting another meet and greet in July, and then there's a membership form available from the library's website. Just a reminder that the library is closed on Sundays during the summer from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend, but we're still here 56 hours a week, so come join us. And the library will be closed on Monday, July 4th for Independence Day holiday. And that is all that I have.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we turn to the police chief's report? Chief O'Connor.
Mr. Mayor, Council, you guys look very dapper this evening.
You do, especially you. You know, I used to get my clothes at Gimbel's Basement, and then since they closed, I've been going to Walmart. All right, hi, everybody. Chief here. We did have a very good turnout for our last Crime Watch meeting, which was an open house here at Bethel Park Police. So I want to thank everybody who attended. Now, we're going to be off for a few months, and we will resume the first Monday of October over at the Community Center at 7 p.m. So until then, please follow us on our social media. And if you are not on our Crime Watch email list, let us know and we can add you to the list so you can stay in tune through the summer and see everybody we arrest. So other than that, have a good, safe summer. Questions? Excellent.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, we turn to the fire chief's report. Mr. Beeson.
Thank you. My name is Russ Beast. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief for the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. Here to give you the report and stats for the month of May. In the month of May, we had 2 building fires, 2 vehicle fires, 2 brush fires, 1 assist EMS, 1 vehicle extrication, 5 gas leaks, 2 CO incidents, 5 electrical equipment issues, 1 power line down, 2 smoke investigations, 3 assist the police, 5 good intent, 2 hazmat investigations, 19 fire alarms, and 2 CO alarms, totaling 54 calls for the month of May. On June 6th, just last Monday, at 7 a.m., we received a call for a house on fire with possible entrapment, people on the roof. Police, fire, and EMS all responded to the scene within minutes. Police confirmed that there was a working fire and that there were people trapped on the front porch roof. A local neighbor brought a ladder. 2 of our fine police officers climbed onto the roof of the porch. One of the residents that lived in the home was unconscious and still hanging out the window. Police officers pulled the unconscious person out of the window and onto the roof. The one conscious resident was assisted down the ladder, and the unconscious resident was carried down the ladder by Assistant Chief Rob Usselman, who's usually here giving the report. The residents were passed off to Tri-Community South EMS, where they were transported to the hospital. We're happy to report that we talked to friends of the friends of the homeowners. The conscious victim was released last week. The unconscious victim is now awake at the hospital, still recovering. It's important to know, and we would like to stress the importance of closing doors, okay? When you go to bed at night in your room, close your doors. I know it traps airflow and everything else, but it is a life-saving step that you take. If you go out of a door in a fire, make sure you close the door behind you. What that does is stop the flow of air. It stops the fire from growing, okay? And it gives us more time to get there and do the things that we need to do. The other important tip for this week, or this month, is surge protectors. Watch what you have plugged into them. You don't want to plug appliances into them. Anything with a high volt draw, anything with a high current draw, they need to be plugged directly into the outlets, not surge protectors, not extension cords, all right? So if you have your appliances and the other things, make sure that they get plugged in to the house outlets that are controlled by the breakers. Okay, thank you.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, thank you very much. We turn to the mayor's report. And Mayor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. We want to thank everyone who attended or participated in our first 2 amazing Park and Play events. The 3rd installment is next Sunday, June 26th at Millennium Park, and that's the band No Bad Juju. The event will be from 5 until 7:30 p.m. There'll be food trucks on hand to purchase a variety of refreshments, and Operation Troop Appreciation will be there to sign cards to send overseas to the military. And if you can bring a donation, they will, I'll send those over also. Second thing is we're holding our Summer Spectacular again this year. That's going to be on July 2nd at 9:40. and that'll feature our amazing fireworks display that we try to do every year. Thirdly, we have the Dean Sprader Concert Series that starts on July 10th and goes to August 7th at the community center. That's at 2:30. Admission is free, but if you can give a donation to the community foundation, that would be greatly appreciated. And don't forget our farmers market is every Tuesday starting at 3, and that's in the South Park parking lot near the ice skating rink. And finally, since it's June, I'm required by the Home Rule Charter to give a state of the municipality. So the bad news is it's usually 12 to 15 minutes. The good news is we pre-recorded it, and you can watch it right after this council meeting, so you don't have to hear me say it tonight. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can we turn to the approval of the minutes? And Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. April 25th, 2022, public hearing minutes, McMurray Road rezoning. I move that we approve these minutes.
Second?
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and seconded by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes of the April 25th, 2022 public hearing, the McMurray Road rezoning. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll? It's not me.
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
Mr. Chairman. May 9th, 2022, regular council meeting minutes. I move that we approve the minutes of this meeting.
Second?
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes of the May 9th, 2022 regular council meeting. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls, and Mr. O'Brien.
thank you, Mr. Murray. Bill list 061322. I move that we approve bill list 061322 in the amount of $1,963,465.72.
Second?
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve bill list number 061322 in the amount of $1,963,465.72. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
And Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the resident comments section for non-agenda items. I think we have a couple residents signed up to speak. Walton Tracy Kasevich from Appel, 3344. If you'd like to come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, we do have a 3-minute limit. Would ask at the end of 2 minutes, you'll be notified and we conclude your
Sure,
comments.
that's fine. Yes, Walt Caskovich, 3344 Appel here in Bethel. I just want to bring up, not sure if anybody's aware that a business that purchased the house in our neighborhood, Passive Memorial Homes, and as one of the residents, we're just concerned if everything was done properly in the way they acquired the home. Are they in the proper zone that they're supposed to be in? And just wanted to see who all is aware of this. And just because this is a neighborhood where we're having a lot of turnover in a good way. A lot of families moving in, a lot of children moving in, and the reason for that is it's a quiet neighborhood and no one ever moves either because it's such a great neighborhood. So now the only reason for the turnover is due to age, and now we have a business moving in to the neighborhood that we're a little bit concerned about. there's some unknowns, and just wanted to bring it to attention to anybody, and if anybody has a comment back on this, I'd be glad to hear it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tracy? Okay. Daryl Taggart of Lisa Drive, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name's Daryl Taggart, live at 255 Lisa Drive. I'm here really for the same reason that Walt that just spoke. The facility, I consider it a facility. It sounds as though that there'll be it'll be staffed 24/7 for the folks that are going to be staying there. And as Walt mentioned, I believe our neighborhood is zoned as a residential neighborhood, and this to me is more of a facility, a medical facility, if it has to be staffed 24/7. So, and I also wondered, this house sold for quite a bit over its asking price, and this could be a blow to Bethel Park, to the tax implications. And I just wondered if Bethel Park gets compensated at all for the loss of tax revenue, since this is supposedly a
Nonprofit.
nonprofit, yes. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? If you could come up and state your name and address for the record, please. We do have a 3-minute limit.
Hello, everyone. Alex Roblicki, 244 Voss Road. I live in the same area, addressing the same concerns. I would like to know what the definition of the code is for residential single-family use. What does that mean? And how does a group home or business putting people who are not of one single family living in the home apply to that zoning? It's nothing against the idea, but if the zoning is not applicable here, I would request respectfully that our elected officials enforce the zoning rules properly, because we have to follow those rules when we want to get a permit to build a shed or whatever. I'm also a realtor. I've sold homes in this direct neighborhood. I know that as of maybe 6 or 7 months ago, I had the highest sell house in that neighborhood at $342,000 for a 4-bedroom. So echoing my neighbor's comments, that house sold for $440,000 cash. It was renovated and flipped, but that is a huge increase in the purchase. It was actually listed at $385,000, so they paid. I'm not good at math on the spot, but that's a significant overpay for the house. So I would like to know what single-family residential zoning means in our municipality and if this applies. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other residents who would like to speak? Hearing none, I'm sorry. If you'd like to come and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lisa Carper. I live at 3315 Appel Road. And my initial meeting with Robert Hicks and Kirsten Prim was on Tuesday, May 3rd at 10 a.m. to discuss Passavant Memorial Homes at 242 Lisa Drive. Kirsten informed me that the township's rules would be to put out a bright colored sign on the property, and those residents 500 feet away would be notified. The sign will be there for so many days, then a board hearing will be scheduled for residents to attend. On Friday, May 6th, I left a voice message on Kirsten's phone asking for weekly updates regarding the situation. She never returned my call or emailed me until June 2nd when I asked for the zoning codes and regulations. I said, "You never got back to me with any updates." She said there were no updates to give me. On Tuesday, June 7th, Kirsten Prim sent me an email at 10:44 a.m. This will be a single-family dwelling. There will be no more than 3 people living in the home, and no, the word is no, full-time nursing care. June 7th at 12:30 p.m. The neighbor called employee Kelly asking to remove the tree. It's now June 7th at 3:07. I called employee Kelly. I asked what was going on at Lisa Drive. She said she had no knowledge what was going in there. I called her out and said, "You just spoke with the neighbor at 12:30, and you knew exactly what was going in there. So will this home be a 24/7 care home?" She answered, "Yes." I immediately went back to Robert Hicks in the hallway at the municipal building to inform him this conversation. Vince Kelly was there as a witness. I asked Robert if I could make a three-way call so he could listen. He said no. He said he would make the call. I asked if I could be there on the three-way call, and he said no. He would call, but not today. I asked if he would let me know when he calls, and he said yes. This was Wednesday, June 7th, and there was no phone calls back. Attorney Andrea Parenti and others keep trying to bring up the Fair Housing Act. Andrea reminded me that she is an attorney. I said, then you should know this is not a Fair Housing Act, but a zoning law issue. Mayor Jack Ellen told my son, Casey Carper, who resides on Lisa Drive, the R2 zoning there will never change. So I would like to address as well with Miss Andrea, the attorney for Passavant. I made a phone call with her, and she also answered, yes, this will be a 24/7 facility. The next day, on June 9th, I asked her another question, and she said she is now looking into this, and some of the homes are, and some of the homes are not. And I said, well, that's funny, because yesterday you told me yes, and so did your employee, Kelly, state, yes, this will be a 24/7 facility. So according to Ms. Kirsten, she said this will not be a 24/7 facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other residents that would like to speak? If you could come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mary Taggart, and I live at 255 Lisa Drive. My concern is for the children and the grandchildren in the community. We're hearing that there's 3 grown men with behavior issues. We don't know because nobody's ever spoken to us. It seems like it's just been a secret type of thing, and that was my concern. The group home is going to be on the cul-de-sac where all the children play, where the home is situated. So I'm concerned about that, what type of people are going in. I'm worried about the safety. 1,500 feet away is an elementary school. Are we safe? Can you guarantee our safety? I don't know that you can, but that's my worry. Where are they from? What type of issues? How severe are the issues? That's my main concern. I have a little granddaughter that I watch, and I just want to make sure it's safe for everybody because we do have a wonderful community safety. You can go out at any time. You can leave your windows open and your doors unlocked. But that's my worry. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other residents that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, I'll just ask our solicitor if he'd like to comment. You know, the Passavant Homes acquired this home. We were alerted over the last week or so, council was. It's pretty much a normal process with staff. I will say up front that we have at least 6 of these type homes in the community already that are operating, and the way we handle it, and Bob will speak to the Fair Housing Act, that we handle with the neighborhoods if there's issue through code enforcement, through police, if there's anything different that's going on, there's any problems. For the most part, everything's been remedied. I think the first home that I'm aware of probably opened 15 years ago, and a lot of concerns, you know, that we all had, and we just continue to monitor them from a code enforcement and a police perspective. We've had a couple parking issues, things like that, that have been remedied by the manager of the property. So Bob, can you briefly talk about?
Yeah, just briefly, I would like to say that this issue has come up in Bethel Park a number of times, and I faced it many times in my practice. I'm actually briefing the issue for another municipality in court now. And one thing I've learned is when people purchase their home, their concern is their investment, and then as one of the residents mentioned, their children, their families. These are natural concerns, and you know, they're not taken lightly no matter what the level of the law is. My understanding, and I can defer to the planner, is that the current use with 3 adults is a permitted use under the zoning law. But one of the things, and this is always a little counterintuitive, it's been argued many times,
it doesn't matter who owns, even if it's a business or a nonprofit or a hospital, the ownership of the facility is not important to the courts, it's the use. And the United States District Court and the circuit courts and the Supreme Court have held repeatedly that residents, unrelated residents who are disabled physically or mentally, have the right to live in an R1, R2 residential zone in a typical, as a family would live. So even though they're not related, even though they might have some special needs, they do have that right. And the issue has been litigated over and over again, and it's simply the state of the law now. I wrote my first opinion letter in Bethel Park on this issue, I hate to say how long ago, and most recently I wrote one in 2014. So this issue does come up. As Mr. Mowry said, the way it's been dealt with is, I think one of the things that's been good is there's been some communication between the residents and Passavant, just to get a comfort level of what the use of the home will be. I think staff will continue to monitor it. The mere fact that some services are provided does not necessarily make it a personal care home. And again, I've dealt with a lot of cases where we've made the argument that where there are a lot of people who are moving in and out every, in large groups, or they have a hospital-like environment, that's not appropriate for an R1. But the mere fact that there might be a visiting nurse or a staff member come in is not significant to the courts any more than a visiting nurse visiting someone in your own home would necessarily remove it as being a residential use. So the law is strict. One of the reasons we're careful and is because if you are subject to suit in the United States District Court on one of these issues, Fair Housing Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, United States Rehabilitation Act, if the municipality loses, which when the law is well established, we will lose, I hate to say that, we're responsible for the plaintiff's attorney's fees. And I can tell you, once that matter goes to federal court, it'll be $50,000 if it's a nickel. So one of the things we try to avoid is just sort of fighting uses that are, so well established that a judge is going to look at us and say, "Don't you own any law books, Mr. McTiernan?" So the way we try to deal with it is, I think communication with the owner is very important, communication with the public. Some of the issues that were raised are things that in the past have been dealt with very effectively by the chief, just to make sure there's no disruptions. And in general, there haven't been problems, but where there are in other communities I've worked in, the police are able to deal with it very effectively. If there's a code violation, Passavant is every bit as responsible for maintaining that property and making sure everything is taken care of as much as you are. And if you do take care of your property, then they're going to be expected to do it as well. So that's essentially the state of the law, and so we can continue to communicate and monitor it. There might, I don't know what the hearing you were referring to, there might be a variance hearing with respect to the number of residents in the house, but I think that's the current state of the law. I hope it's helpful. It might not be welcome, but,
What if it was a full-time staff instead of a part-time staff, we find that out, is there a difference?
if those adults are living as independently in that house, even if they get regular visitation, if they have a person who resides there with them, that doesn't remove it as being a residential use. Now, if they were getting like hospital-type treatment, hospital beds, something like that.
24/7, so there's a caregiver there 24/7.
Simply because there is a staff person there to assist them does not remove it as being a residential use. I think I'll also answer one of the questions too, and I'll confirm this next month, but just because it's a nonprofit doesn't mean it's tax exempt. They go to apply for a status. I do not believe the other facilities located in Bethel are tax exempt, but I will confirm this, that the house will continue to be taxed as every other house in Bethel Park. I mean, that's a good point, Mr. Mowry. Currently, it's not exempt. They would have to go to the Board of Property Assessment. We have no control over that. They would decide whether it's an exempt nonprofit or charitable use. And of course, most of the taxes would, if it's taxable, are paid to the school district and the county as opposed to the municipality. But I think the most recent tax bill on the property was about $900. But of course, as the value of the property goes up, the potential taxes would go up. But that's a very good point that we will monitor. Any discussion from council? Hearing none, can we turn to general policy and finance? I think we have Marion Raymer to speak on item C under, we won't do it now, but when we get to your agenda. Okay, at this time, can I turn to Dr. Campbell in General Policy and Finance?
Sure, Mr. President, we have two items under General Policy and Finance. Item A is 2022 IT Managed Services. I move that we award the contract to All Lines Technologies per the IT Administrator's memorandum dated April 29th, 2022.
Second. There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Mr. Oakes, that we award the contract to All Lines Technologies per the IT Administrator's memorandum dated April 29th, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. President,
Dr. Campbell.
as many of you may have observed over the last 2 years, we've made some substantial, I would say Herculean efforts to invest and update our informational technologies infrastructure, trying to modernize it and get us out of the abacuses and out of the dark ages. We've emerged from to be profoundly more effective, more efficient, and certainly much more secure with our computer systems than we had before. And we've done great strides also to build our staff and arm them with the best tools we possibly can. Ideally, we'd like to keep all of our informational technology services in-house, but there are some services that we just can't provide. 24-hour help desk care, network security, soft and hardware licensing, and warranties, as well as particularly some project support that we need to do on occasion. So we feel that all these outsourced costs, they're going to reduce with time, as we've already invested so much and built so much already, as we become more self-sufficient, more self-sustaining. We had 7 providers offer bids for this project, and for these services. One in particular stood out as very valuable, very comprehensive with what they had to offer. So that was all Lines Technology.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any other discussion? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
Our second item, Mr. President, is the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Department renovation, Clifton Road Fire Station. I move that we reject all bids for the renovation of Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company's renovation project for the Clifton Road Fire Station.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell and second by Mr. Espinar that we reject all bids for the renovation of the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company renovation project for Clifton Road Fire Station. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. President,
Dr. Campbell.
we live in strange times. I'm loath to say unprecedented times. But construction costs right now, and construction materials in particular, are astronomically elevated. I'm a homeowner, and I do quite a bit of renovations periodically. I've gone to a number of the local hardware stores and construction sites, Lowe's, Home Depot, trying to look for some lumber prices, and I've seen that they have tripled in the last 2 years. As such, I decided to put off some of my projects in my home. 3 bids were received for us to renovate the Clifton Road Fire Station. All the bids were significantly higher than what we budgeted for, significantly higher. None were felt to be a good value to the municipality at this point. So although a lot of work still certainly needs to be done on the fire station with the renovation, none is felt to be time sensitive at this point. None are felt to be that they'll affect fire services at this time. And the fire department administration is aware of the situation. We have the luxury of waiting a little bit longer to go ahead and maybe get some wiggle room to wait until prices ease. Taking our time is probably the most prudent, most reasonable, and most conscionable effort at this point. Therefore, I will vote yes to reject the 3 bid renovations for the renovations.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
I have no other items, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to health, safety, and welfare, and Mr. Sensei?
Mr. Maury, I have no items under health, safety, and welfare today.
Thank you, Mr. Zinsi. Is there any additional items?
Mr. Maury,
Mr. O'Brien.
just like to wish the Army a happy birthday tomorrow. It's June 14th, 1775. The display out there in the Veterans Memorial is all the Army flags for the birthday. We're getting back to our tradition of putting up the flags for every service's birthday. So look forward to everyone across the next few months. Also, too, I'd like to bring up some new issue. We had a lot of discussion during our long-range plan, and it was brought up that one of our worst intersections was Logan, Irishtown, and Patterson. And we had several different ideas, and we dared to ask, does a roundabout fit in there because it's such a difficult intersection? So we walked through the process, and it does fit. After weeks and months of looking with Stacy Graft and all the other engineers, we come up with a plan, and it's just a proposal. So this week, on Tuesday, myself, Lawrence, Stacy, Mr. Murray, and Mr. Oakes, we entertained a public meeting for the neighbors around and presented the plan. And it went rather well. Many questions, and once again, it's just a proposal. So tonight, if all the people that could not make it, or anybody else in the general public wants to see the proposed roundabout at Irishtown, Logan, and Patterson, it's a link on our website, and they can go there, and it may take many years to happen, so we have to make a proposal to the state now, but it does work. It turns the intersection from a Class F, which is very poor, and I know that from high school, to a Class A. So if you got the time, take your time and go out. And I'd like to thank council for thinking outside the box. That's all, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can I turn to planning and zoning and Mr. Janusik?
Thank you, Mr. President. Two items for planning and zoning this evening. First one is application number 2021-0-0949. Tom Cregan, applicant for Genesis Outdoor Advertising, requests conditional use of property located at Library Road and Hillside Drive for a billboard sign. Lot and block number 317-G-290. Current zoning is C2 Commercial District, and it's in Ward 5. Before I make the motion, I just want to note for council that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denying this applicant. I move that we approve this application per the Municipal Planner's Memorandum dated May 16th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Janusik, second by Mr. Oakes, that we approve this application per the Municipal Planner's Memorandum dated May 16, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. President,
Dr. Campbell.
the day after the public hearing, I drove down to the proposed billboard site and walked the area with a tape measure and pulled it out to give me some idea of like the size of the sign. What was proposed is a 10 by 20 foot billboard, double-sided. It's electronic, not far off the road from that bend in 88 down by Sheets. And I felt that the applicant, they submitted to us mock-ups of the size of the size of the sign, and I felt that the mock-ups they gave us was exceedingly disingenuous. Certainly did not seem to be proportional or fractionally proportional to the sign of the size of the proposed sign of 10 by 20 foot. I specifically asked also the applicant at the time of the hearing to give me some signs, comparably sized signs that I can go visit in the area. I was suggested down in Castle Shannon that one of their billboards was near the intersection of Castle Shannon Road and 88, that was one of their signs. When I went there, that sign half the size of that which was proposed. Since then, the applicant did not get back to me with any of suggestions for other similarly sized signs. I've had no correspondence with them since then. I since then drove every major road in Bethel Park, all the major arteries that transect to Bethel. And the largest billboard I could find was a 5 by 10 foot size, half that of the proposed sign. It was one-sided and not electronically illuminated. Nothing else was comparable. Nothing was as large in Bethel Park. I think this would be, in my opinion, the proposed billboard is two-sided at the bend of the road. It will be very distracting and not consistent with the demeanor, the culture, the vibe of Bethel Park. And as such, I will vote no for this.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
No.
Mr. Sensi,
No.
Mr. Council Magno,
No.
Mr. Espenar,
No.
Ms. Flynn,
No.
Mr. Janicic,
No.
Mr. Mowry,
No.
Mr. Oakes,
No.
Mr. O'Brien.
No.
Motion fails 9-0. Mr. Janasek.
Mr. President, I would just direct staff to send our written decision within 45 days.
Thank you, Mr. Janasek.
One more item under planning and zoning. Item B, Dream Greener. This is a partial security reduction, number 2. I move that we approve the Dream Greener partial security reduction number 2 for the amount of $547,579.51 per the municipal planner's memorandum dated May 31st, 2022.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Janasek and second by Mr. Oakes that we approve the Dream Greener partial security reduction number 2 in the amount of $547,579.51 per the municipal planner's memorandum dated May 31st, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. President,
Mr. Janasek.
I don't know if the Dream Greener is in the room. I just want to say I'm really impressed with what they've done there. That was an old county maintenance building, and it was in disrepair for a long time. And so it just looks great right now. And I also know that, part of the proposed Central Bethel Park Trail might be going along the side of that, and we really appreciate the owner there, listening to us about that and working with us on that. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Janasek. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espenar,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janasek.
Nothing else for planning and zoning.
Or do we have any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to Public Works and Maintenance and Mr. Council Magno?
We have 4 items under Public Works and Maintenance. The first item is grass cutting RFP. I move that we award the contract to Diargo Landscaping LLC per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated May 18th, 2022.
Second?
There's a motion by Mr. Council Magno and second by Mr. O'Brien that we award the contract to Diargo Landscaping LLC per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated May 18, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
You said it much better than I did.
Thank you, Mr. Council Magno.
This is going to assist our Public Works Department in at a very reasonable rate for the summer grass cutting, so that's part of it.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espenar,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Council Magno.
Second item is 2022 Pine Tree Park Playground upgrade. Motion for the acceptance of the option number 5 bid for Compan Inc. for $177,077.30.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Council Magno, second by Mr. Oates for the acceptance of option 5 bid from Compan Inc. in the amount of $177,077.30. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Sensi.
That option 5 is actually option 3 for the people that were at the meeting. Just so if anybody is watching, we went with 3. That's what the people picked.
Thank you, Mr. Sensi. Any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espenar,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consolmagno.
The third item is Orchard Drive to Orchard Avenue ordinance. I move that we approve ordinance number 6-13-22 to change Orchard Drive to Orchard Avenue.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consolmagno and second by Mr. Oaks that we approve ordinance number 6-13-22 to change Orchard Drive to Orchard Avenue. And we have one resident signed up to speak. Mary Ann Raymer, could you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, thank you. Mary Ann Raymer, 5062 Orchard Avenue. So I'm not going to be affected, and I'm not going to have to change my address. But I just had a question because I'm the judge of election for that area, A3. And will the addresses be changed in the polling book before the general election in November? I don't know the time frame. How does this work? Because if someone were to come and I needed to look at an ID, would the Orchard Drive people now be Orchard Avenue, and would they have an ID that reflects that?
Maybe. No, it's my understanding we'll look at it as a couple different layers. Number one, the post office is going to deliver Orchard Drive, Orchard Avenue. They will continue delivering on a problem. As far as notification, this ordinance, if passed tonight, will be effective July 1st. We will also notify the County Department of Elections. I believe they've already changed it from Orchard Drive to Orchard Avenue, but we will verify that. The only thing I can guarantee you is if people come in and show their license, they probably will not change that until their license is due to come up. But we will notify all the agencies, and I will get back to once we notify the Department of Elections and see how they're going to handle it.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And just to follow up, when this Orchard Drive was an extension of Orchard Avenue, somehow when the plan was approved back in the 70s, that it became Orchard Drive instead of Orchard Avenue. We were requested by actually the Allegheny County 911 from an emergency standpoint that we make it one road, Orchard Avenue. I got to keep getting this right. I'm going to be confused here. So we're changing about several houses from Orchard Drive to Orchard Avenue. Like I said, the post office has already made the change. It really isn't going to impact. We'll be putting notification out to the residents that are impacted. And like I said, if adopted, this will not go into effect till July 1st. Any other discussion?
I just would like to add that Mr. Hicks is also aware that he stated to me, if
Okay.
this is a 24/7 facility, it will not be allowed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Emphatically, yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consolmagno.
Simple yes.
Mr. Respinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
A fruitful yes.
Everybody's a comedian. Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consolmagno.
Now, the last item is 2021 RACP Field Lighting Grant. I move that we approve the grant acceptance in the amount of $500,000.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consolmagno, second by Mr. Oaks, that we approve the grant acceptance in the amount of $500,000. This is a grant for adding lights to some of our fields. It was applied for last year. As we've learned recently that we were awarded this grant, probably will not complete it till 2024. There's a process you have to go through in the grant application, which I want to set expectations where we're going through with the splash pad. Something that in years past would take months is now going to take years. So anything we do with adding lights probably will not happen until 2024. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consolmagno.
Yes.
Mr. Respinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
A brilliant yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consolmagno.
Mr. Murray, I just have a comment to make. Anyone that attended the Saturday, June 6th event for the staff, Touch a Truck, outstanding, wait a minute, that was June 4th, I'm sorry, Saturday, June 4th. But my sincere appreciation to Susan Dolinar, the Director of Public Works, and her entire staff for making this a fantastic event that children, we're just flocking to it. And, if you can watch it on BPTV, you'll see the excitement. And, it's just a great event. I don't know, 2,000 people or more showed up. And also my hat's off to Ward 3, John Oakes, for being the champion dunk-a-tank person. I think you got more dunks than anyone there,
Thank you, Mr. Consomek.
If it was, if we were collecting any fees for that, I'm sure you would still go on it. But one final thing, a lot of the residents in our municipality do an excellent job in maintaining their yards, and it seems like every time I drive around, I see high grass and that, and those are the exceptions of the people that just don't care, and probably the people that aren't watching this program tonight. But thanks to all the residents that go out and make their yards, what Bethel Park should be like, instead of the exceptions that have the grass that's 3 feet high, and we get calls on it, and our code enforcement has to go through hoops and everything to get them to cut their grass. And it's a shame when you see that sometimes the people just have died and left the state to no one. And so it's for us to pick up the pieces. But thanks to all the residents in that. That's all I have, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Consomek. Any additional items? May I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved, Dr. Campbell, second, Mr. Janisak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stay tuned for the mayor's report next.
It's my honor and my privilege to provide the annual state of the municipality as required by our Home Rule Charter. I would like to begin by recognizing and commending the council, the municipal staff, the police department and volunteer fire department, and the EMS team for all their hard work and dedication to the community. I must also mention how appreciative Bethel Park is for all those men and women who serve on our various boards, commissions, authorities, and for the hundreds of folks who volunteer their time for the dozens of activities that go on in the municipality. For the most part, their pay is our gratitude and the good feeling they get serving others. The finance department, like all other departments, continually seek ways to be more efficient and readily accept the advice and recommendations of our auditor on matters that are beneficial to the people of Bethel Park. Thank you, Lisa, and your staff. Our financial situation is sound. The municipal millage is 2.74, plus the fire department. We're the lowest in Allegheny County. Our neighbors, South Park is 3.06 mills, Mount Lebanon 4.71, and Upper St. Clair 3.83. Last year in this report, I mentioned significant developments and redevelopments within the community. I am pleased to report that this is an ongoing process. Since last June, we've seen the following. Huntington Bank, this is a bank that will be built in Village Square, which was formerly the Pennzoil Oil Change. The Enclave at Cool Springs is a 65-unit townhouse development located at the corner of Hamilton Road and Baptist Road. Popeye's Chicken is approved and will be located in Bethel Park Shopping Center at 5055 Library Road, and the First National Bank construction has begun right behind Papa John's Pizza. The American Rescue Plan and CARES Act has provided necessary but unexpected funding for all levels of government. Bethel Park has received approximately $1.7 million in 2021 and expect the same this year. We have focused our funds on updating and expanding our infrastructure, along with covering some of our unbudgeted expenses to deal with the pandemic. COVID vaccine clinics. Bethel Park partnered with Spartan Pharmacy to hold several COVID vaccine clinics in our community center that accounted for over 20,000 people getting vaccinated. The costs were incurred primarily for staff and volunteers who provided this achievement. Ventilation upgrades to the police department and municipal building. The municipal building is aging structure and we need to improve the air quality. It was decided to upgrade the ventilation system in the building. Our splash pad at the community center we've been planning for over a year. This was a project that was suggested in Blueprint Bethel Park, our long-range plan. It has grown in size and amenities. The initial concept was estimated to cost $2.1 million. The splash pad itself will be 3,000 square feet, the largest in Allegheny County, and will include 3 areas, one for toddlers, small children, and older children. There'll be 6 changing rooms, several patio tables, and with the idea that we could expand in the future. Also included will be bathrooms on the upper side, adjacent to Park Avenue. The price tag now is coming in at $3.5 million. While we were fortunate to receive $950,000 in grant money, the CARE Act gives us the opportunity to continue with the project. We also demolished the building next to the library, and that will be used as a parking lot at the municipal building, and it will become available, and we will develop it as needed. We're also looking at pickleball courts. The pickleball craze now continues to grow with people of all ages. We were one of the first towns in the area to put pickleball courts over 10 years ago at Simmons Park. And based on demand, we have selected at Millennium Park, we're going to develop 8 new pickleball courts. The Shade Tree Commission Bethel Park is hoping to join Tree City USA in 2023. As part of the requirements, we have to dedicate funds to plant trees in our parks. Our focus will be to clean up dead trees and reforest our parks. These are the major projects that we've been able to fund through the CARES Act funding and still have reserve funds for other things. In the last 2 years, we've received nearly $2 million in state grants to help offset our costs. We need to spend within our means and to keep our taxes affordable to all residents. We're currently upgrading Millennium Park to have baseball, softball fields only. Village Green is now a soccer lacrosse field with artificial turf. In addition, we've added new playgrounds to all the neighborhood parks. Simmons Park was upgraded 3 years ago, and we now have recreation programs for all ages. I believe that this council and staff must continue to have the vision that Bethel Park will always be looking to the future, and it's our responsibility to work that dedicated line between development and protecting our residents and our neighborhoods. So it is my observation and my opinion that the state of the municipality is strong in all areas. I think that it continues to move forward and we are positioned adequately to meet our immediate and future needs. I'm also going to do a quick community update to let you see a little slide presentation that was prepared. This year, Bethel Park welcomed 4 new council members. That means that nearly half of our council has changed. You can tune in to one of our council meetings live. In 2021, the municipality adopted its first ever strategic plan. The first plan served as our operational framework for future strategic plans, which led to the adoption of the 2022 plan. For this one, we incorporated feedback from various stakeholders and partners to help shape our priorities, objectives, and efforts. The municipality also restructured our format for the 2022 budget, all budgets going forward. This new format will make it easier to understand for all readers, providing greater transparency. All of our information was subsequently placed on our municipal website for ease of residents viewing. Last year, we held multiple outreach events to showcase all of our park improvements. First was Miners Park, where we held a grand reopening to showcase its new features along with celebrating the 100th anniversary of Coverdale. For Birch, Oak, and Millennium, we held groundbreaking events where we invited local area residents out prior to construction to inform them of the project and to answer any questions they might have. For each park, we went in with a vision of having them all be unique destinations in Bethel Park. To decide and design, the municipality reached out to the local area residents and held a vote for them to choose which playground they wanted. The Pittsburgh City paper announced that Bethel Park was voted #2 farmers market in Pittsburgh in their best farmers market competition. The following are a few of the events that we host in order to bring the community together. The Observer reporter placed Bethel Park Farmers Market right behind first place of their best of best competition. In the top left was a realtor luncheon that we sponsored. Top right, our farmers market. Bottom left, wreaths across America. And bottom right, our vaccination clinics. We have several methods of communication used to reach our residents. You can find us on SwiftReach and email, and text subscriptions for different areas of interest. You can sign up for these on our website. We also have BPTV, which can be found on our public access channels, Facebook and YouTube. We have several Facebook pages, the municipality page, the farmers market page, the BPTV page, and the Bethel Park Police page. We also have a LinkedIn page. Here are a few of our new communication outlets we've begun to use. Twitter for quick news updates, Instagram for great pictures around Bethel Park from various events, Google Business, which you can find by searching Bethel Park Municipal Building on Google. Community partnerships are incredibly important, and Bethel Park is always looking for ways to work alongside the many other great organizations in our community. Here are a few of our partners: the Peters Township Chamber of Commerce, the Bethel Park Castle Shannon South Park Chamber of Commerce, the Bethel Park Library, Tri-Community South EMS, Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company, Outreach Teen and Family Services, the Bethel Park Community Foundation, the Bethel Park School District, the Lions Club, the American Legion, and the Bethel Park Historical Society. The municipality is looking for ways to find additional revenue and expand its grant funding to support more projects in Bethel Park. PennDOT, Multimodal, and RACP, the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, have yet to be announced for 2022. October 2021, the municipality hired a FTE grant writer and redevelopment coordinator. The municipality has a multitude of existing projects on the horizon. Here are a few to look forward to. Pine Tree is getting upgrades, including a new playground, an updated sidewalk, updated stormwater management system. We are in the planning stages and permitting stages to upgrades in Peter Page Park. Our Park and Play events will run throughout this summer, with free monthly events going on in many of our parks. We're also working on a website redesigned to make it more accessible for visitors. If you go to our website, you already see some of the extensive changes being made. Planning for Park Avenue Splash Pad is currently underway, and we continue to conduct MS4 projects throughout the municipality. We are continuing our efforts in making our offices paperless with the municipal cloud migration project. Thank you.